Obviously you want to take some sort of risk, especially when you're younger. There's got to be some risk inside your portfolio, right? Inside your investments, in your retirement accounts. You want to be invested in things that are riskier, at least some portion of your investments, because that's how are subject to more gains. You've got more upside when that happens, especially compared to something like putting your money under the mattress or something like that, which is never a good thing. I don't know what that was that just happened with my voice, but anyway, it's not a great thing to just let your money sit under your mattress, because I'll tell you, it's not doing anybody any good under there. It makes your mattress uncomfortable too, kind of lumpy. But anyway, it's the princess and the pea kind of a situation. But here's the thing, there are a lot of ways that retirement has changed, and perhaps our thoughts about the amount of risk that you should take when you're in retirement, maybe that is something that has changed. Maybe there are some old rules there that are still applicable, but can be adjusted for you, for your individual situation, right? We talk about sometimes like this thing called the rule of 100, which basically is you take the number 100, you subtract your age, and the number left over should be the percentage of your portfolio that should be at risk in the market. So if you're 30, you subtract that from 100, you're left with 70, right? So 70% can be at risk in the market. Then you turn that around. If you are 70, you subtract that from 100, 30% should be at risk in the market. And the idea there is that the older you get, the less risk you take, because the time horizon obviously gets shorter, right? You have less time to make up for any losses that you experience in those investment accounts. So you should, yes, use that as a general rule. It's more of a guideline, really, because your individual situation might be a little different. You might have more of a risk tolerance, in other words, or some other situations might be different. You might have longevity in your family and have, presumably a longer timeline. You might, have some health issues, and you might have a shorter time. So there are a lot of different things and considerations that go into it, and that's where the free consultation comes in handy, right? Because I can help you along with making those decisions. And that's really what I do want to do, because that's where I thrive, I feel like, is helping people sort of navigate the questions that they might have surrounding their retirement. But there are a lot of ways here that I want to go over. U.S. News and World Report actually came out with this article about the ways that retirement has changed over the past, say, decade or so. And even, you could lengthen the timeline a little bit there, and the changes have been even greater as far as retirement plans for, baby boomers versus the, Gen X, the older Gen Xers starting to look at retirement now as well. And so the general kind of thing here is it's not your grandfather's retirement. It's not your grandmother's retirement or your mom's or your dad's retirement. This is your retirement. And you've got to take into consideration the things that are true now and the things that have changed. Like, number one, retirees are living longer. Forget the idea of planning to live to age 70. That was kind of the old way, right? A 65-year-old woman in the U.S. can actually expect to live another 19.7 years on average. So, yeah, almost 85 years old on average. And that's according to the research site Statista. I guess I'm saying that right. Statista? I don't know. One or the other. They do stats. Meanwhile, a 65-year-old man should expect to live another 17 years. All right. So that is, right now, obviously far beyond the age of 70. Now, again, everybody's situation is different, but on average, people are living longer. And rising healthcare costs, the inflation that we've seen, obviously, the last few years, lifestyle changes. Start retirement planning as early as possible for that retirement that's going to last maybe longer than you thought. All right. The effects of inflation, retirement savers often do neglect to factor in inflation into their future purchasing power. And the impacts of inflation not only have short-term, but also long-term implications. And even if inflation goes down, prices are not necessarily going to follow suit. Often the prices continue to increase, but just at a slower rate. I mean, we've seen that. Obviously, we're nowhere near, thankfully, where we were like middle of 2022, where we had inflation over 9%, right? Boy, prices were just skyrocketing. And that's the year over year statistic, right? So prices of goods and services rose 9.7%, I believe was the highest it got over that year in that time period, middle of 2022. Well, now that's come down to around 3%, somewhere around there. And so that is much better. It's a much more normal rate of inflation. But still, that means prices are going up year over year by about 3%. It's still, the goal is for that to come down even more. And as it does, the Federal Reserve will lower interest rates. So that is another good part about inflation easing. But still, prices are going up, just not as fast as they were. And you do want prices to go up, right? You don't want deflation. You don't want prices to go down, right? So you want some steady, like slow and steady inflation really is kind of the way that it should go. And the stress, though, that inflation or the prices that we're paying now versus just a couple of years ago, that's putting on people's pocketbooks, that's being reflected in the amounts of extra withdrawals that people need to supplement their income. And that may reduce the amount of income that people may be able to take in the future. And yeah, I mean, retirement, as I said, could last for 35 years or more, several decades here. So as retirees live longer, as we were mentioning, one aspect of investment strategy that becomes significantly more important is managing volatility. Things are going to be and have been over the past few years more volatile. We saw a period of real volatility back in most recent memory. The largest period of volatility that we saw sort of initially was back in, I believe it was 2018, where there were it was a literal roller coaster on Wall Street. Then things kind of evened out. Then, of course, hey, here along came COVID, and that sent the markets on another wild roller coaster ride. Supply chain issues, inflation, those things all meant for more volatility. There's just more volatility these days. So portfolio diversification is so important to help protect against that volatility. And you need to have not only investments in different types of stocks, for example, equities, right? Stocks, bonds, that sort of thing. You need to have investments that are diversified in other ways, maybe some kind of alternate investment classes of things. We talk about annuities quite a bit on the show, and I'm a big proponent of them, especially the closer you get to retirement. You can protect and grow your wealth and then turn that into an income that you cannot outlive. And it's got, a lot of guarantees. Now, there are bad annuities, of course, that are out there. I like to avoid the bad ones and only work with the good ones and give you those, the opportunity to take part in those rather. And so that is my goal, is to do what's in your best interest. Yeah, I'm a big fan of annuities, but you know what? If we take a look at your situation and we decide that an annuity might not be the best thing for you, that's rare, but it could happen. And so if that's the case, I'm going to tell you, right? If that's the case, I'm going to say, nope, you need to stay all completely in equities, and you need to stay invested. Maybe if you're younger, that might be the case for you. All equity investments, diversified, of course, with some safe money else, not necessarily elsewhere, but with some safe money included in there as well, like stocks and bonds, for example, that kind of thing. Because if you've got, maybe say you're in your 30s, you've got a long time horizon, I want to keep you well diversified like that, and make sure that you are prepared for your retirement when it comes. I want to establish that long-term relationship with you, and we can make adjustments along the way. That really is what it boils down to. And a lot of people ask me when they meet with me so many different things. Do you have a minimum age that you work with? No, I'll work with anybody of any age. If you're an adult and you have a job, essentially, even if you don't have a job, if you've just got some money that's sitting around, I will work with you. The other question that I get is, do you have like this minimum amount of money that you'll work with people for? Like that, do you have a minimum portfolio size, in other words? Because you'll hear those commercials sometimes where people will say, oh, if you have $500,000 or more saved up, you can work with us. And while that's great, and I would not demean anyone, obviously, if you have $500,000 or more saved up. If you don't, I'm not going to demean you either. I'm going to work with you and help you get there and surpass that and help you maximize what you do have so that you have an income in retirement that you cannot outlive and that you can have a retirement you can take pride in. That is the goal. And if you want to, start down that road toward that goal, takeprideinretirement.com is the website. Once again, that's takeprideinretirement.com. Just click on the schedule a consultation button there. You can also give me a call, 855-246-9211, 855-246-9211, wherever you are in the country.